You've learned that data are just another source to support your research and communication. Like other sources, data that you find are not going to answer all your questions or address all your points. Data and statistics provide one perspective, which should be used in concert with other sources, written or numerical. Just like listening to a choir with only the alto part, only looking at one source limits our perspective of the full picture. When researching, make sure you consider and look for sources from multiple perspectives or voices. However, as human beings, we cannot easily focus on multiple things at the same time. And we certainly don't have time to find and cover every source in a report or presentation. Instead, make sure to use hedging language when talking about data to show when it applies and point to other possible perspectives. Use phrases like suggest, associated with, might, often, rarely, in this case, for this group, and about, instead of phrases like results in, causes, leads to, always, never, or exactly. You have also learned the principles of effective data visualization. The final principle is that data visualizations must be deeply embedded in the text of your article or presentation. This means highlighting the main points of the data using words, along with using hedging language to make sure you do not confuse causation for correlation. Translate numerical data into relevant and memorable stories geared toward your audience. First, use translation phrases when you introduce numbers into the text. For example, wouldn't want to leave my reader to interpret for themselves the impact of 57% of Gen Z adults have anything saved for retirement. Instead, I would add a translation phrase at the end. In other words, barely half of Gen Z has started saving for retirement, despite Gen Z's supposed investing savvy. When you include numbers in the text of your writing, try to use averages or rounded and whole numbers. Instead of 87.93% of baby boomers have retirement savings, I could round to 88% or even almost 90%. To make the meaning behind the numbers and statistics you are citing even clearer for your audience, try translating numbers into familiar objects or experiences. A particularly powerful translation tool is time, because it is a very salient experience for most audience members. You can also use travel, household objects, food, famous people, or anything that will be relatable and relevant for your audience. For example, instead of 43% of adults aged 18 to 29 do not have any retirement savings, I could translate it to put the lack of Gen Z retirement savings in context, it is like planning for a year's supply of food storage, but starving by the end of July because almost half the cans were empty. Lastly, tie all of the principles together to tell a memorable story. Instead of saying 15% fewer members of Gen Z have retirement savings compared to their millennial counterparts, I could turn it into a story. The gap in retirement savings between Gen Z and millennials represents 94 million years of wasted retirement savings. Think of it this way. If a millennial and a Gen Zer were each interviewing for the same job and each year of wasted retirement savings is only a second snoozed on their alarm clock, the millennial would receive not only the job, but 3 end of year bonuses and a promotion before the Gen Zer had time to wipe the sleep from their eyes. Now it's your turn. Use the data you found and the visualization you created to write a sentence that includes translation phrases, round numbers, comparisons, and a memorable story to make the meaning you want your audience to understand crystal clear. For more details on interpreting and communicating the meaning of data, check out Data Planet from the BYU Library. Go to the Data Basics tab for answers to frequently asked questions. Thanks for watching!